Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a conversation on going through adversity. The themes in this conversation, have to do with grief. We have blended families. We have, near-death experience, like where is the place of God? And, I can't wait to hear this amazing story from our guest. So please stay tuned. On the channel today, we have Raymond. I'm so happy to have you here. Please introduce yourself. I've heard so much about you, but I want them to get a bit of your story and get to know who you are and how life has really been going. Yes.
Sure. Thank you very much, Lisa. Raymond Bukenya is my name. I have several others. If I say them, we might spend the whole day because people might want to know why.
Yeah.
But the Karimojong call me Lorot, and my farmer friends call me Beinempuno. But yeah.
We won't go into what all that means.
No, it might be a whole day.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Many things. I am a clergyman. I am a farmer. I am a businessman as well. But above all, I'm a husband and father.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't mention is that I teach. I'm a teacher. I teach at the Bible college. I love to teach theology, so it's one of my passions. But the main thing is I'm a dad. I'm a husband. Yeah.
Amazing. Can we do some icebreaker questions to break any ice?
Well, I'm in your hands. Which one now?
Okay.
Do I get a chance to ask any?
No, I'm not asking.
Okay, good.
It's all right, but if you want to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite meal?
Yeah, man. Okay. Meal is complicated, but if it has pork, it might pass as a good one. Yeah. So definitely my favorite food, meat, is pork. And yeah.
Amazing.
And then if you go into fruits, so I love jackfruit. But things that I'm sure that will be in heaven is jackfruit, pork, Coca-Cola, and coffee. Most likely they will be there.
You're a coffee addict.
It's okay. I can accept that.
You can accept that. Okay. If you were to die today, how would you want to be remembered?
Yeah, a great husband, great dad. Done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's okay. Yeah, you retire from many things. You give up certain things. I might not be a farmer tomorrow, but I'm a dad and husband full time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, how many children do you have?
Only 7.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
So
the
you're going
youngest is 6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Oh, you what do they call him? Sekawere.
No, at 6 months.
Yes, that's still newborn phase.
No.
You're still waking up at night.
No. Madame sleeps.
How?
She plays a lot during the day. She's a very cute, smiling baby. It's like she's active. And, she sleeps in the night. She wakes up only if she has to eat, then goes back. Hey.
You guys are lucky because it's almost 2 now. I'm still waking up, so you need to teach me some tricks.
Chiboko. No, I'm kidding, definitely.
Anyway, okay. So I'm so glad that you're here. Like I mentioned, I've had a bit of your story. So maybe you can just share with us your journey with life. I know there's grief in there. I know you've remarried. I know you nearly passed on. There was an accident somewhere there. So just tell us how life has been.
I have to compress, years of life. But yes, until 2019, I think I'm I would describe myself as one of those guys who are headed for the sky. I still am, but at that time I was really on course. Boom, I was headed for the sky. I was married, ministry career going well. And I remember, 3 children, church life, I was pastoring, I was healthy and strong. Everything seemed to be going well until a phone call came in. Well, I think I was in Congo at a pastors' conference. I was training pastors, and I received a call telling me um, that my wife wasn't well at the time, and she described the pain she was going through. And I remember saying, "Okay, fine, I'll go take this, go do this," and you know how you can be, you're busy. And then she did, and the day didn't go well. And of course, since I was not home, she went back to her mom's, and it went bad. She began to take the painkillers more regularly. And I said, "Okay, you need to do a scan." And then the next call says, I'm at my mom's and I'm taking the painkillers at this space, this regularity. I was like, "Nope, this is dangerous. Something's wrong." So that's 5 years ago, 2019. I'm out in Congo because that's my ministry. My work was like that. I was traveling, I was going places, but I was also having impact. I was influencing. I was growing even myself. And everything was well. I'd just returned from Karamoja. I'd just been in Karamoja 7 years. My time was done, and then I was in Kampala and settling in. And then here was the news: she wasn't well. Long story short, I cut my trip short in Congo. I got onto the next flight back home, and we went to hospital and did several tests, did scans, and we found out that her gallbladder had enlarged and thickened. That thing is supposed to be small and thin, but it had thickened. And the doctor had interest in finding out what exactly caused this. Maybe he knew more, but he didn't want to reveal, so we had to do surgery. Because, gallbladder, there's a number of people who don't have their gallbladders.
And
for
they are
one
fine.
reason. Of course, at some point you can live without it. So they did intend to just remove it so that she can live life. Unfortunately, on doing the surgery, they found out that the gallbladder was attached to the liver. It's under the liver, but now was attached. But also the liver looked
not good.
Not good. Unfortunately, that's when we learned that she potentially had liver with the cancer. Life would change since then. So from the surgery to biopsies to tests and until finding out hardly 2 weeks before her death that actually it's cancer of the liver. It was suspected, but the tests showed nothing. And experts came in, they were like, "No, it doesn't show." And apparently, I've never been to that experience. So apparently, cancer has a way of hiding, of making it impossible to be detected, apparently. So firsthand, this was March when we began to do the journey. Then end of April, she was gone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was difficult, but it had lots of lessons to learn in a short time in terms of how important you treat life, and which is the more I began to think, is the heart really the most important part of the body? I began to think maybe the liver is the most important, and such a journey. So yes, that death, then later on, and then again I went on a journey. That's 2019. Single dad, started to just to see how I can raise my kids.
Can we just talk about that a bit? How many kids did you have together then?
3. We had a 5-year-old, 3.5, and then a 4 months old.
4 months?
Yes, she was almost 5 months.
Tell us more about that. How were you able to just raise that family and even talk to them about their mother's death?
Yeah, so normally, and I think naturally, society would imagine, and it did happen, that as a guy, you can't be able to take care of your kids. So what do? Do you have a mother? Then take them to their grandmother. Did she have a mother? Then take them to one of the grandmothers. So that was like default. Everybody was recommending that. I didn't buy. I said, I'm raising my kids.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. I said, I'm raising my kids. So, and many of them saw me as super dad, if you say. Yeah, I was always with this little one, carrying her in my chest and doing this and that. Then of course I had help. My sister came home, so I said, if there is any help,
they should come.
Bring it home. So let people come home and give me whatever help. So my mom sent my younger sister to come and help me. So she was with us from June 2019 for 2 years until Isabel, the youngest, was 3.
Wow.
Yeah, she was with us until she was 3. But I thought the only way we could journey through this together is if we remain together. Rather than them going somewhere else and then I have to go and see them, because that was the people's recommendation.
Yes, that means they would have to deal with kind of 2 losses, because now they are away from their father also.
Absolutely. But also me, then that would complicate my journey as well. But their presence meant a lot to me, but also my presence meant a lot. Of course, grief is different for different people. Obviously, it's the same experience perhaps, but different for everybody. And then it's a different thing for kids. So I cared so much about me. So there was a lot I needed to do to stay afloat, and therefore in order to help the kids. And that's important, because if I'm not, then they're in trouble. And so I tried, but I was trying. I was surrounded by few people who cared, but then there were people. By the way, grief is a very crazy thing. We know it happens. Every day people lose loved ones, but we grieve with them for a minute, and then we go. And then that was my reality. We had people around us for like a few weeks, and then poof, everybody was gone. And so, but home was home. So mommy's pictures were on the wall everywhere. She was gone. Kids were writing letters to God, to, telling them to bring back mommy. They were asking lots of questions. Why? Because I had to explain what exactly killed her, why the hospital wasn't able to help her, and then why God did had to so even when I explained, I had the middle one, Janice, the one was 3.5 at the time. As she grew, she had more questions. Of course, Isabel didn't understand much. She was young. Nathan, the older one, began actually, even at the vigils, somebody had told him that big boys don't cry. So he thought he was a big boy because he was the eldest.
And he was only 5.
He was only 5. So when he saw me cry, like especially at the vigil and perhaps later, he's like, Daddy shouldn't be crying. Big boys don't cry. But yet, in grieving, he took on a defensive approach. So he went into himself, and then he began to lie a lot, and then like be rough and mean a lot, and stuff that wasn't really him. And I didn't detect it immediately, because as a father, when your kid is telling lies and you're passionate about truth, you don't take it.
You're like, sin, you must leave.
Yeah, so you warn him if he's rough on his siblings, and you warn him, and then you either give him a timeout or even beat him. And I wasn't detecting that was his way of grieving, because I was going through my own. Then I was going, things seemed to be as if I was catching up. And then one unfortunate morning, January 28th, 2020, I'm riding my bike. I had come from Karamoja with a big bike that was helping me navigate traffic around the city. So sometimes I didn't have to drive. If I have a meeting and I'm going to return about 7, 8, I would rather not drive. I did a bike. So I didn't do border borders. I had my own bike. So that unfortunate mid-morning into afternoon, I was coming from Chira. We were living in Chira, going past Nigeria. Some overspeeding car hit me from behind.
Oh my God.
And so, but it was at an interesting stage in life, because initially when I was struggling with the kids as a guy, I do remember getting frustrated and saying, God, you know what? I don't understand. You should have taken me and left Brenda, because I think she would manage this better. Of course it was selfish, because I was struggling, and that day, I remember after getting the accident and going to hospital, my main concern when I was rescued was about the kids. But then I remember a question coming to me, do you still want to go? Do you get? And obviously I wasn't.
You're like,
no, and I was like, no. And I remember appreciating life ever since. I was having a conversation with someone recently, and I told them my value, my perspective on life has totally changed. Both the hospital experience for Brenda, but then my experience in hospital and after that accident. But anyway, yeah, that accident will also change my life forever, because then I'm no longer the two-handed dad that was carrying my kids and throwing up in the air and then playing all these things. I couldn't do that anymore. So the accident was bad.
Tell us more how bad that accident was. What did you go through?
Okay. Of course, when I landed, I woke. It's quite funny that I should have done the things that I was going to do. I could have done like 50% of them at home. So I woke up, I was supposed to go to the garage and pay for a car, a lorry from Karamoja that was being repaired, and I'd pledged money to pay to the garage, so I'm going to pay that. But also, a friend of mine in Kenya needed money to pay for his academics, so I was going to lend him money. So I picked the money to go and pay. And then my mom, I needed to send my mom some money. So those three errands got me from home. It had drained ish. So I didn't need to leave home. I could have done that. But because I'd made a sale of chalk that day, the previous day, I needed to get the money and combine it with other money. So I moved. Then I'm like, okay, I need to go and see the lorry. So I actually regretted leaving home because it wasn't really urgent. But yeah, when I was knocked, the clavicle, I landed on the left. I had a helmet because I had a pro bike. So I had a pro L helmet, and it was strong enough, but dangerous. So when I landed on the left, and it hit and cut through the clavicle and the scapula. So it broke here. Oh my God. But my brain stayed firm. Yeah. It did break, the helmet broke a bit, and it broke this jaw. So this jaw had braces, and it's called a titanium plate, I think. They put my jaw back together using a plate. So I didn't eat meat for 8 months. You can imagine. From January till August, when they removed, after the doctor said, you're now fine. The dentist said, you can speak, which is most important. You can chew. And, but I did eat meat. I blended it. There's no way I was going to go from January to Chisoboka. No way. I blended it. Yeah. But anyway, the actual accident meant that one of the things that weird happened was a rib. One of my ribs broke and pierced into the left lung. What else do you know is on the left?
The heart?
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, but then, and the rib cage covers, protects, right? Yeah. But the one that broke pierced the lung. Yeah. And so they drew out 1.7 liters of blood. So they had to do surgery on that. And then they had to do surgery on the jaw. But then these ones, they didn't have to do surgery because they do get back naturally as long as you're immobilized. So yeah, the bones got healed after 6-8 weeks, but my hand wasn't functioning. That's when there was concern that there must have been more damage. Yeah. And I got to learn later that I had, what do you call it? I'd got a brachioplexus injury. Brachioplexus is this area of your body. Kids get it when they are born, when you're coming out of the womb. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Some get it, some don't. It's more common among kids. It's possible when you get such an accident, and it did happen. It seemed partial because it seemed like I could move my hand a bit, but then it looked like the nerves had been broken and drawn back into the spine. So they kept firing and wanting to connect. Yeah. And I had what they call neuropathic pain. Then when the nerves are trying to fire and connect. So for 2 years, I lived on painkillers.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you've lost your wife, you've had this tragic accident, and now you're thinking about the kids. Like, first of all, am I also going? How are the kids going to make it? And you're like, God, why are you putting this huge burden on me? And what's your relationship with God like, and what's going on? Are you battling and wrestling with him? Shoot Day is happening at Canary Hotel. If you're looking for a place to come and have your meeting, there is a boardroom for hire that you can use, or you can just come, work from here. There is an offer that's going on. For 30,000 shillings, you get bottomless coffee all day, free Wi-Fi, so you can work in peace, work effectively, have your board meetings here, your, appraisals, whatever it is. Canary Hotel is the hotel for you. So come book your time with them.
So that is, up to now, I haven't said much about it, right? And I had already, like I mentioned, the kids were asking questions about God, about everything around. And for example, the one who was in the middle was now, at the time when she was 5, she had asked me a lot of questions.
Yeah.
She was 3.5 when her mom died, but by the time she was 5, my goodness, I had taken it on.
Yeah.
But then she had now sort of ceased. She had understood mommy was dead and gone.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain that people do actually fall sick and they die and they don't come back. Yeah. And I'd explained quite a number of things concerning that, but there was always a why and why and why that followed up. And I had to answer, because they don't always understand everything biblical. And I had to answer both, trying to come from the Bible and explain the fact that they will also die someday. I will also die someday.
Tough conversation.
Exactly. But what's important is to die in the Lord. And I told them that mommy had died in the Lord, and we can be so sure that we'll see mommy again, but not on this side. But on my on the inside, my personal struggles definitely were, because this is something I experienced personally, but there were other people being affected by it. Yeah, her close friends, her family, my own friends, people at church, people had questions, especially before the accident, but even after the accident. Now, like I said, I'd asked God, why did you take me and leave her? Because she would handle this better than me. I was struggling in many ways. And now, when the accident happened, the questions became more, bolder, clearer, harder, and but then in terms of reflecting, at the time I'd begun reading, not just begun, I'd reflected through C.S. Lewis. He had married a woman that had cancer, knowing that she would die, and he endured it. And I thought, C.S. Lewis, you knew.
At least you knew.
You knew. I didn't. This thing just hit me.
Yeah.
My life was doing well, everything was okay. Then, boom. Then, Job in the Bible, that was my main place of reflection. The psalmists, I looked at many things. I had encouragement around me, even though I had both praises and absence in terms of people I expected to be around. Some of them were not, but then there were those that were really present, even though they were in far places. So the book of Job was very helpful for me in terms of seeing what he had gone through and endured. Though, of course, again, I would question Job's experience and mine. I would be like, Job, you lost everything except your wife. But me, I lost a wife and have everything. So we are not like in the same situation. I would go, I would have such thoughts. But after the accident, even when the questions got bolder, darker, louder, the experience took a turn. And this is when the question, the place of where God was, became very important.
Yeah.
Because,
tell us more.
Yeah, because when my bones healed, the hand, the mouth, the jaw wasn't yet, but the hand wasn't functioning. So one of my friends, a doctor, a pain doctor, was concerned. He knew some doctors in Kampala. He told me, you know what, see this doctor, find out. He told me, do these tests and find out. I even had to do an MRI scan to find out. And that's how we found out that I had a brachial plexus injury. That would lead, this is January 2020, now March 2020. And anyone who remembers 2020 or 2020, COVID, that was COVID.
Yeah.
So it's beginning-ish here, but it's very bad elsewhere. And yet, when we found out about the brachial plexus injury, we needed to swing in action, find out from the experts. There's no one in Uganda. At the time, there was no one who could deal with it. I have to be honest, because we tried.
Yeah.
But I was told that I could get a surgeon in Cape Town. And there were others, obviously, India, possibly Nairobi. But then the places that I was sure that I could get help from with certainty was Cape Town and London at the time. So London was the easier one. And so I actually left for London in March to go and get neurosurgery. I get there and COVID just takes over the whole place. So even the hospital where I was booked in for surgery and first scans before surgery, when I saw the neurosurgeon, he said, okay, come back on this day, 19th March. For an MRI scan that would determine. I got in on 11th. He said, 19th March, you're booked in for an MRI scan, and then we can determine. At the time, it wasn't an emergency center for COVID. Within a week,
things changed.
It was an emergency center, but also our president on the 18th of March declared a lockdown that would start on the 21st. So I was there contemplating, do I stay? So once the pandemic became intense and spreading everywhere, the hospital where I was scheduled in, they told me, Raymond, your surgery is elective, but this is an emergency situation. So we have to postpone. And we suggest either you stay indefinitely until the pandemic subsides, or you go back home and we will call you back, because it's a medical issue, so there shouldn't be any problem coming back. Anyway, long story short, I thought about my little kids, because I'd left them in Kampala with my young sister. I couldn't stay. So I returned, and the country was locked down. Of course, they would put us in quarantine. I was in quarantine for 16 days, above the mandatory 14. The 14 were traumatic, disturbing, but the 2 were a big, big problem for me, because I was not positive and our results were not coming in. In fact, I had a very bad experience with the people there, the security as well. I walked, I was at Emin Pasha. I paid my bills, government in Sasulanga Center. I paid my bills, and I wanted to leave. I wanted to see my kids, and my hand was swelling. It was paining. I needed to see a therapist.
Doctor,
and so I lost my mind. I remember telling the military guy, shoot, me, I'm going. But you shoot if you have my COVID results. I told him I'm leaving. You know I'm not positive. I was positive, but I didn't. So it was bad, and I think it was getting to my head. I think at that point, and I was having difficult conversations with God. Why? So one of those mornings when I was mad, I remember going through Mark chapter 9, and I'd been in 4 and then going to 9. And I remembered, I saw Peter and the disciples with Jesus in the boat, and they were angry at Jesus because their question doesn't really express their anger, but it was like, do you not care that we are perishing? Do you not care? And I was like, actually, I changed, I moved away from everybody else, because I was angry at the government, I was angry at so-and-so. Then I said, nay, wait a minute. God, you're supposed to be in this thing. I've been praying, we've been talking about, where are you? You're supposed to be in this thing. So right there in the hotel room, I began to think, of course, if you're asking God questions, you better be listening as well. Because you can ask, you can pray, you can say things, and then you walk away. So in reflecting, God actually took me back and asked me if I haven't learned anything on that journey. So I began to think, okay, what exactly do you mean? I'd been through this with my one hand with my luggage. I needed to sanitize. I needed to have a mask on. I needed to do what? With one hand, with a painful one again. I was angry. I said, why do I have to go all through this? I go to the UK, I arrive, everything is arranged, and then they return me wasted money, wasted time. I come in here in quarantine, they eat my money. All this I was angry. And God was asking me, haven't you learned anything on this trip? And I do remember that when my host, that pain doctor that had tried to help me, he's a retired guy, but still active. So he's an American living in the UK, and he's a pain specialist. That's his work. And he's doing an incredible job. He was retired, 70, and his wife was 65, going 66. and they were just living by themselves, of course, and their kids are everywhere. And I'd been in their home, and as a Moroccan, you know what, every morning you wake up, you do your devotion, and then you pray, you call upon healing, you declare, you understand. I was even beginning to fast about it. I remember God telling me, good guy, you leave the hand.
Yeah.
Is it the only thing I'm doing? I can heal it, but there are many other things. And I'm telling you, these are like candid, bold conversations. And I'm thinking, I couldn't forget it because I had it. Can't focus on anything else. When I was living with them, and focus on something else. I will heal the hand if I have to. And so I actually, up to today, I'm never preoccupied with my hand. I'm never, hardly, like unless it's paining, then I'll clutch onto it a bit, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I actually stopped thinking about my hand. Having enjoyed seeing this wonderful couple, enjoying wine in the evening together, dancing to some music, cooking together. The guy loves to cook for his wife every time he comes from work. Like, I loved it. I mean, we're good friends, and I just loved it. Right there, I thought, I would love to have that.
Yeah.
But God, it's not possible. Now, that's when the journey began. Of, okay, maybe I need to be open to the fact. And then I began to think, okay, fine. The truth is you have kids to raise. You need help.
Yes.
Secondly, now you're even much more vulnerable than you were previously. Look at your hand. You need help. So all those things began to come in. And I thought, okay, I hear you now. But remember, I was very angry. I was in that isolation. And I remember one of the, I wrote down my reflection and did a recording of it. And of course, as a Musumba, I dropped it. And something that came out was, it benefited people, but it took me on a journey of being open. And then when I met someone, I'm not good at sampling. When I met someone and I was very sure it was the person, the rest is history. We are now married.
Wow. So how long did that take?
It took between May of 2020, that's before marriage, May 2020 and July of, getting to know her beyond what I knew and connecting with her. And then saying, you know what, actually there is a lot of connection here.
Yeah.
There's a sense of clarity here. And unlike in the past where I had God say no, I never had him on this one, but I had other people saying no. There were many people who said no, and I mean, even the church said no, but there were the no's they were external.
Yeah.
My convictions about her was very clear. I thought it was going to be an incredible journey for both of us. And so I had the conviction. And then I, of course, had to talk to my mentors and different people. I lead a ministry, so I had to discuss with my board about the decision I was about to make, because they all knew that my situation, and they had put me off ministry. So I wasn't working, but also it was pandemic time. Though I was pastoring, so church, you don't stop pastoring. I was still pastoring, but my ministry organization had told me to take a break. I had enrolled for a master's to keep me busy. I'd also deferred that one because I needed time off. So I had enough time
to think through,
consult, connect with her, and then
things started off. Okay, so I just want to bring back something you talked about, just to emphasize. I love that even when you were going through the questioning and all that, you're still saying you're reading Mark. You're still saying you are praying, you know? So I really love that, because it tells a lot on your relationship with God, because many people, as they are going through that, they cut off completely. And you said, if you're asking God questions, if you're not listening, then you will not hear the answers. So how will you connect with God? So I think just sticking with God, even in the, in the calamity, in the anger, just remaining. I think I just want to emphasize that so that people there can know that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, well, there are stories like mine, but then there are stories in the Bible, like Job's and others, because he's not the only one. But Job's story is highlighted because he loses, his kind of losses are similar to our losses. So if you talk about Daniel being taken away from family and then taken to Babylon and then thrown into the lion's den, we may not relate.
It's so far.
Yeah,
it's like
if you talk about Joseph, sold as a slave, taken as to work in Potiphar's house, blah blah blah, ends up in prison unfairly, maybe ish, but we won't identify. But then when it comes to loss of loved one, loss of enterprise and livelihood, loss, like we relate so closely with Job's losses, and I encourage people. All scripture is fruitful, it's helpful, it's God-breathed, it is multi-dimensional in helping you, whether you like it or not. What I cannot guarantee is that in your times of darkness and trouble, is that you will find it as helpful. Because obviously, your state of heart and mind is not sane enough to see almost everything that God is saying. And what I tell people actually sometimes, who, like you coming into my life to encourage me and tell me, the Bible says in Romans chapter 8, verse 38, all things work together for the good, for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. The question would be, what about you? Does he love you? Do you love him? Has he called you according to his purposes? Why aren't you going through the same thing I'm going through? You understand? And it's not like you just get a scripture and slap it there, but scripture is very helpful in many ways. And I cannot say I had a particular way around, because there are times I had that Bible, I have my Bible, and when you look at it, you will know it has been read. I would look at it, and honestly, I don't want to read it. And I would just look at it and leave it there. I had a table and chair in my bedroom where all those things were placed. And I would look at it and just walk away from it. And of course, need I mention the fact that I got very depressed at some point, and I would stay in my bedroom and then walk out and just go to the fridge, grab something, run back to my bedroom, and the kids run. When you open the door, they run, and then all of a sudden you're back in. And then they knew they would sit there and just wait to hear if anything is going to come out. You understand? And then I'll try to work out, okay, what do I do? But I just didn't want to be in front of them the way I was. But you see, but I had my Bible, and I was a pastor. Okay? I'd just returned from Karamoja as a missionary. Right? For some people, I was like next level Christian. You understand?
High there.
In fact, one of the most significant conversations in that time was a young man that looked up to me. He was not under me in terms of church. He was under one of my friends. But he looked up to me. And so he literally arranged breakfast at Cafe Java's and said, you know what, I want to sit down and talk. I didn't know what. We get there, he pays for breakfast, and he says, bro, my faith is struggling. And I asked why. He said, I still don't understand how you are going through all these things. Because losing your wife is one thing. And that one I've grappled to understand. But with everything you've been doing,
for the
Lord. Why would God allow these things to happen to you? And that made me think, that led me to think a lot. I mean, I gave my responses to him, and he asked me, but isn't your faith struggling? Because mine is. I'm wondering if God can protect people like you.
What about me?
What about me? And I realized, wait a minute, what I'm going through is not a joke. It must be something. And the journey would continue. So, of course, the story is very long, but yes, the Bible is a good place to run to, but I cannot guarantee you that every time you run to it, especially in times of darkness, that you will get an answer. The answer you need to have always is God's presence with you. And I'm not saying go away from the Bible, because the Bible is God's word written for us to read. But if you read it unaware of God's presence and not paying attention to that and making use of that, the fact that God is with you. Like when Jesus is with the disciples in that boat, the storm is clear. Peter and the other fishermen know what storms do. There's no doubt you will die. The question is, who can save us from this? Lord, do you not care? But the fact that he's present with them is important. The other parts of reflection in the Bible. For example, the psalmist. Psalm 23, we recite it a lot.
Yeah.
The Lord is my shepherd, I will not fear. But you see, when he describes, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear. For you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. Now, the rod and staff is not your typical, hey, your bishop's staff, like that thing. You know bishops, right? You know that thing they hold. That's not the one he's describing. His word, but his presence, his discipline, his care, because that's what the rod does and the staff does. And so I can say clearly, God was with me. There's no question about that. There are many things. I could have committed suicide. I contemplated. I was fed up. I was like, Katibino Nedda, especially after the accident. But then I began to appreciate life better. I could have done anything crazy, but he watched out for me even when I did not ask or think, even when I was unaware. You might not have gotten COVID, but in the middle of that nonsense or experience, I got COVID. So you get real angry, and you're like now, God, what next? So I got to a point when I told God, okay, now what next? So this thing, now this thing. What next? Yeah. You know how Job was? They come, they report to you this, and then they come and tell you another. Then they tell you another, and you like, God, okay, now what next? Because it looks like you're carrying out an experiment. As if Job's experiment is not enough.
I know.
So you're trying to do. What are you trying to do? Like I was, but just that place where he reminds you, I'm actually with you.
With you. I love
and it was always comforting. And then I'll try to find some peace. Of course, my doctor had prescribed some sleeping pills. Sometimes I would go very late in the night, couldn't find sleep. So sometimes I would intentionally take some sleeping pills to sleep. But that Bible there is good.
It's good.
And please run to it. I understand it better now with the things I was reading. I am not one of those Christians who prescribe verses like this one or this one. No, I know the use of it, and when God guides me to use it, I think what I needed most in that time was people who would be with me and just hear my struggles and pray with me, support me, or help at home, or in anything I was. And I had a brother who was doing that. I had a few brothers who were doing that, but I think people rush to use the Bible. You're not doing wrong, but you're doing something wrongly. Like it's right, but you're doing it wrongly at the wrong time. People just want to be listened to when they're going through that time. And when it seems like God is far off, if God brings you into their life, be the listener.
Be there.
You understand? I think I've answered a question you hadn't asked per se, but the one was about the Bible. I had it, I read it, but sometimes I looked at it
and didn't read it.
And I didn't read it.
Yeah. But I love that. I love that. And even as you're sharing what you're going through, we are seeing a bit of some light there, they are coming.
You don't always see it.
You don't always see it, but
you don't always see it.
Now as you're speaking, we are seeing the light, and you've seen this couple and you're like, I think it's time. It's time. And then you meet someone.
Yeah.
But then you say, you've met this person, things are going on well. People are saying no. First of all, why are they saying no? And then how did you overcome? When they say no, did you also say, okay, no? Or
no, of course. Even me when I was praying, because of what I'd gone through, I think my prayer, and I said to God, come on, peace, I've gone through a lot. Give me someone. I tell you now, to be like it.
You don't want to add more.
Please, yes. When I'd accepted, I said, okay, whoever you bring, it's okay, but let it be something easier. And of course, I was praying selfishly as me, which shouldn't be a problem per se, but I wasn't really caring. What if I bring you? So God didn't say that, but you imagine, what if He brought someone who had, even bigger problems that you had been through? What if it's him that He wants you to marry? It's her that He wants you to marry. And because of what you've been through, that you may be of help. And so the person I met is your typical Ugandan young lady, and had been through some rough experiences in life. And in church circles was was not approved of. You know, even though she had been in the worship team and was active in the ministry, the church looked at her past life and pinned her life and future onto that past. Something we don't do for ourselves personally. So if a bishop today or a clergyman today or a pastor who had been through, say, I used to drink a lot of alcohol. I used to gamble a lot. If I see gamblers or drunkards and I trash them, it shows that I've forgotten where I came from. Because me, I'm now where I am. I position myself in a place of righteousness. And why do I use such language? My wife now had been through previous relationships that didn't work. All right, and she had given up on men, literally. And do you know some women that have given up on men?
Many.
All right. So that's what I meant by typical. Like our society, especially, and men need to know this. You guys are doing so much damage in this world. And the church has allowed you to continue. Because, and I'm going to say it plainly, because when a guy has a child with a woman out there and they're not married per se, and the woman has to bear a bigger shame in our society.
Yeah.
Not so?
Yes.
Than the man. The man can actually walk away and go and live his life. But the woman, especially in church, will struggle to fit in.
Yeah.
And for me, when I met her, God was very clear. This is the one.
Wow.
She had 3 kids. She wanted to raise her 3 boys. And being a clergyman and knowing how church was judgmental, she told me from the start, no, I can't date a clergyman. I can't marry you. So I invested the most part of the beginning in convincing her that I was different. I assured her I was different. And she was like, okay, I want to believe you, but I don't know. My experience with church has been like this. And she was right, because I worked in the church. I knew. And I know that there are women that have gone through experiences of that nature, and it had meant that they are doomed. They are condemned, and they can never have a turnaround. And I said, you know what? If there be one story in history, let it be this one.
Wow.
All right? And I assured her that I was going to be different, and I saw her differently. I took her through, because I'm a Bible reader, and interestingly, I had now resumed doing my master's. And at that stage, we were doing the Gospels, and I was writing an essay on John 4, the woman of Sychar, the woman at the well. And interesting, by timing, I was doing that story, and I had read widely about it. I had understood it. Oh, I fell in love with that story. And I assured her, you know what? Hey, you don't know, that woman's story changed. Her identity changed. And I said, from the time I marry you, you will be known as Raymond Bukenya's wife.
Wow.
And if that's the only thing and the last thing I do, let me do it. And I mean, some people said I was naive. Someone said, that man, because of the trauma he has gone through, right now he's just making any decision.
It's not okay.
Things were said. And I think I can say with certainty that I had the conviction. I had the conviction that what I was doing was right. Now, of course, that would mean a blending family.
Yeah.
I know they call it blended, but I was setting myself up for a journey into an experience like never before.
Oh.
But a beautiful one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about blended families, I come from a blended family.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We actually have a similar experience. I lost my mom. For me, now from the child's perspective.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I lost my mom when I was about maybe 11.
Okay.
And then my dad got married again, and she also had kids, and then my dad had kids, so we had to come together.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not easy. So maybe from your perspective, you know, how do you bring these two families together?
Yeah.
First of all, she has her own way of maybe raising children.
Yeah.
They have been raised a certain way.
Yeah.
I don't know how old they were. And then you have yours, and then now they're coming together. How do you create that sense of unity and working together? Do you sit them down also? Like, how does it even work?
So, like when there is God in it,
Mm-hmm.
there is the way it works.
Yeah.
There is no template per se.
Yeah.
But from the start, this is one thing that would strike clearly. So we literally have 3 sets of twins.
Mm-hmm.
So our kids are age mates. You get
Mm.
like the older ones are the same age at some point together, the same age. So right now, the eldest is 11, and the one who follows is 10, but they'll be 11 at the same time at some point before the other one makes 12.
Yeah.
Then the ones in the middle are each 9. Actually, the boy made 9, the girl makes 9 this month. So there'll be 9 together until next year.
Wow.
When the boy makes 10, and then the other will be 10 later. Then the youngest ones at the time when we're getting together are also 5 each, and just months apart actually. Luke will make 9 in September. Isabel will be 9 in December. Wow. So we literally have 3 sets of twins. And the younger ones, the youngest ones, of course now the younger one we have, Angelica is younger, 6 months, but Luke and Isabel are literally twins. Like the way they live their life, my goodness, they are like they're twins. And they tell people that even at school. At some point they were in the same class and stream, and the teachers had to split them because at first they were in the separate classes, but they would not concentrate. They would come to each other's class. And then they put them in one class. But then they were competing a lot, and then they split them. Yeah. But yes, how did it work? I don't think I can say there's a template, but one thing was clear to me. God wants to work out something here. And when I took it to one of my mentors, I remember the time, he was shocked about the story. He was like, wow, whatever God is trying to do here must be real. And we prayed about it and said, you know what, we were let me say, this was November 2020 when we first talked the conference, when we now broke it to him and said, this is what we'd love to do. And he said, you know what, if this is the conviction you have, don't take too long to implement. Don't delay around with it, okay? But he assured us, you never had dreams of raising 6 kids. Now you're going to have to. And then he said, of course, with more, because you need to have more. And he said it joking, and we laughed, but obviously we were going to have more. And but it meant we were going on a journey that neither of us had been on. But we needed to be sure that we're convinced. And so it begins with the 2 people. So Lynn and I needed to make a decision that we were going to raise these kids together. And it meant many things. It meant for the dad, for me, it meant right from bills, doubling, exploding, to unnecessary competition, to everything, but beautiful. Like you can't take it away. Like it is real. And I've consoled myself in the fact that, believe me, church is like that. We are God's children, right? Yeah. But we all come from different backgrounds, and then with different everything, preferences, and then we actually even can, I would say, we like as siblings, I would say we are siblings as God's children.
In Christ.
But the way we forget that, and then we look at each other differently, but then we remember that, and then when times are like different or good, or we enjoy life together. We have meals together, we rejoice together, we do parties together. So we've celebrated a lot of things together. We've been on an amazing journey together. Rather than calling it a blended family, I think blended is the product. I would call it blending. So every day there is blending happening. Every day there is a few steps forward, then there is stalling, then there is confusion, there is learning something new. There is, like you talked about parenting, a single dad and a single mom parent differently. And besides, even if you are having, let's say, first time marriage, you both parents of the father and mother of these kids, your idea on parenting
views are different, and you're still struggling
because you grew up in different homes. Your parents parented differently, so you both have an idea on how it is done. Now when you have been doing it on your own for years, before you could get married, get someone, and especially but especially if a mother has been raising boys and she has captured it.
Yeah.
She feels,
Yeah.
and so we've had to go on a journey of, and she's excited about, I'm happy that God gives these guys a chance to have a dad in their lives, a man who's going to, and that journey is beautiful, but it's not easy.
It's not.
There's no way, and it's a good thing you've experienced something like that, perhaps. Yeah. So there's no template.
Yeah.
But it's if you have the conviction that God has called you to this, and both of you, not one person, it cannot be one person's conviction, because then you're just dragging the other.
Yeah.
But if you're convinced that it's both of you being called to this, then I can't say it's easy, but it's possible.
No, it can't be easy. Did you have any experience? You're not my dad, or you're not my mom at any one point?
No. I think maybe in anger, but they would never tell that to me. I think not because I'm tough, but because of relationship. I'm the relationship kind. I'm the relational kind that hardly beats. It's conversation. It's conversation. I'm tough, very tough.
Are you present? In terms of being,
I am very present. That's one of the things that I love most, and it's, I think, something that I appreciate. Both God has given me, but my mentors have demonstrated it, and I've seen it. And one of the guys I had it from, even before I got married, wasn't saying it to me on how one of his sons went a different direction because he was absent. His last born almost went off the rail because he was absent. He got too busy. He wasn't saying it to me. He was saying it to one of the leaders in this country. They were meeting up, and these are church leaders. And then there was this MP whose kids were in a different place, and she was in a different place. And he said to her, who is parenting your kids? Yeah. Who is present with you? You see, we do this for them, I do this. And then we take them to good school. He said, no.
That's not enough.
The matron is their parent. You're not. It's like, but you see, our parents took us there. That's how we came out. He said, no. Then he paused and told his personal story without telling any of us to exit. He told it the way it was, and I was young. I heard it, and I was like, And when it sank in, I knew I had to be present. But also, my dad did everything, but was absent. Yeah. And I wanted to be different in that area. So I've tried my best. Am I present like 100% perfectly? No. I have to work.
You have to do other things.
You have to do other things, So I try to be present in their lives. I drive my kids to school, and I drive them back home. Unless I'm unable. So that we can have some time catching up about the day, about, sometimes, and then be present in their fights in the car, and then try to correct them, and then try to, and which are every day. Kids are just amazing.
I love that. I love that. And for us who are maybe teenagers, I want to think or believe it's harder with like adolescents than with the younger children, because they seem to be more understanding and more, ours was tough. Ours was really tough, but I really love the fact that you were present. And did you ever have a sit down with everybody and just say, okay, now this is it, now I am daddy, or this is new mommy? Like, how did it ever happen?
That and again, when you detect it, we did, but also you can detect behavior towards each other. And because you're blending, you cannot assume that you've blended already. Yes. So you occasionally, you have to have that conversation. These are kids. And but then you can't tell them that when the two of you aren't. So my wife and I are the primary place for everything else to flow. Yes. So if we like, I'm trying to think about the question, do we have to remind ourselves that we are, but if we are, then the kids are going to be, you understand? So the kids are going to see mommy and daddy being, and then naturally it helps them to be. But yes, occasionally we've had to sit down. I mean, we've tried our best to have dinners together, because during the day we are not together, working, blah, blah. but then also praying together, tutu leading, singing, and then they all read a portion of text together, and then we think about it. Daddy helps us to go around what the Bible is saying, and then they have questions. Everybody has a chance if they want to ask a question. So we have that. So the practice of having conversation it's there all the time. But then when we detect a reason, a need, so it's not like we sit them and lecture them, guys, by the way, no, we need to remind you, but if we detect that there is some sort of attitude, there's some sort of behavior that is unbecoming, there's some sort of treatment towards another that we actually know is birthed from that, we have to. And then we have had to be very careful ourselves, like I said, because it's in the process, you could actually be the ones who show that. You could actually be the ones who bring that happen. So we've tried our best to do it, to make sure that we show them the direction we believe we should be going together. So we try to keep them in the same schools, right? So there's no, like if they're separate, then someone will begin to think, why is the other one in that school?
Is it better?
Is it a better school? And then of course when they come back together, they tell each other, for us, our school is like this, and then the next thing you know, the other one is saying, I want to go to the other school. Why? So they are all in the same school, and it's convenient. When we go to see them, we see them all together, but also they are there to support each other.
I would like to touch a bit on discipline. You know, if would they ever feel like, if the other person, would you discipline the same? Generally with everyone, and same style,
Yes, sometimes all of them at once. So there are things they will do, and they all try to deny there's something they will do, and like general family situation, kids have solidarity.
Of course.
One time they picked raw mangoes from the mango tree in the garden, and we had cautioned them. Those kids all refused to say who.
And so, no snitching.
Yes, and so we decided that there was no TV for a full week. Then they told Janice, whom they thought would, because Daddy had declared. Mommy brought them to me and I declared no TV. So they thought, who can convince Daddy to get us to put back TV? So they sent one to accept that she was the one. They planned. I know kids can be interesting. So yes, and then when they found out that it was a lie, all of them, all of them, you know, because yes, a discipline is very key. I'm not a beater because I beat badly, so I would rather not beat. I'm more of a conversation. My wife is a Chisapato mother, African mother. She will warn you, and then you repeat. Sometimes she will send you to a naughty corner, but yes, there's no favoritism.
It's the same.
It's the same. You tell a lie, you will be disciplined, and the people will report you. So people will say, this one lied. Or even when we are doing devotion, we will ask, when we talk about, the Bible is always calling out sin. So we will always ask, do we know anyone who does this? The people who know, say, this one did it during the day. So some things there come out. So discipline is the same. Of course, the ages are different. So even the age per discipline is the same. The discipline per age is the same.
I love that. And just hearing your journey, there's just so much to learn. And maybe there may be someone out there who's going through, first of all, diversity, like things are just not working out. What would you say to them? But then also someone who's going to remarry, for example. Any tips like you want to, because there's certain things you've learned now, you know, that you could tell them so they don't either make the same mistake or things they need to be aware of. What are those things?
Even before that. So for example, hey, wait, this situation is not you can't think about it as a perfect situation. I make mistakes, a lot of them. For example, my wife expects me to discipline properly like typical dads. You know how they tell you, your dad, I'm going to tell your dad, you understand? And you shake. When they of course, you know you will shake, but I think the kids will know, Daddy will beat you if you have done really something really, really
like
bad.
Like rebellion
or
something.
If you've told a lie, for that one, you can be sure Daddy will beat you if you have told a lie. Especially if he asks you again
And you
lie again. Because they know if daddy asks you, just say the truth. And that's how daddy begins. So I'm going to ask you this. We can make this simple. Did you do it or you didn't do it? And then if you begin, but for me, I was, and then the other one, and then you're not telling me the truth, then you're going the wrong direction. So no, but it's not perfect. We make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot. But because I'm learning, I realize, hey, wait, this is how I used to do things, but this is a different situation. So if you ask the question about remarriage, first of all, if someone is thinking remarriage, it is not necessarily very different from even a first-time marriage, but there are some dynamics, okay, to consider. However, if you trusted God in the previous marriage, you should trust God even when you remarry, okay? The condition you're in is not the determinant. Is God calling you into that particular marriage, to this particular person, okay? Now, the dynamics are different. It could be a single person, it could be a married person, or rather also a widowed person, or whatever circumstances. It could be a person who has no kids, it could be a person that has kids. The dynamics are totally different. The primary thing, has God called you into this? Now, as people would term it, if there are any encumbrances or any other things surrounding it, you have to prayerfully consider and wisely consider and be sure you have sober conversations with the person you're considering. Ask questions about what you see, what you observe, what you realize, and share honestly if you have any reservations about a particular thing, or get clarity. So that's what I'm saying. It's almost the same, because this is a human being, whether they have anything or not, and just like any other. And they can be a good companion, okay, just like anybody else. And anything that surrounds, there has to be a place primarily of God calling you into it. If not, you're in trouble. Because no matter how simple it can be, if God hasn't called you into it, it won't work. No, it doesn't work that way. But of course, many of us would prefer the easy path, the easy things. Like I said, I was praying for an easy thing. That's not what God was giving me. Yet my journey, bumpy sometimes, but beautiful. I love it because it takes me to learning experiences that I had never been to. And I keep asking myself, okay, would I wish it any other way? I don't think so. There are things I love and I'm learning, and I quickly relate it to the church. The church is God's family, and there are all these kids of His that come from different parts of life, and they don't know each other that much, perhaps, but God continues to grow them together, teaching them things. So if you want to get married, especially if you're remarrying, is God calling you into it? Is God calling you to the specific person? Ask the questions. Be observant. Pay attention. If there's something you see, ask questions. Seek clarity. Do not assume anything. Also express. Speak out how you feel about something. And talk about expectations. That's why I don't think it is very, very different from your typical first-time situation, because either way, the only things that will come in, if God has called you into it, there will be gifts. There will not be problems. There will not be encumbrances, as people term them. No. There will be gifts, and you will love them, you'll enjoy them. And again, life is short. You will have lived it. And if that's your calling, then you'll have served your purposes. And when God calls you, He will pat you on the shoulder saying, well done. You could take the easy path, but then you don't get the pat on the shoulder.
I love the opportunity. I really love the opportunity to love again and to just feel that,
absolutely.
we all deserve that. I think
absolutely.
We do.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm really happy for you. And then those who are going through the hardships, what word of encouragement would you give them?
Okay, so first of all, I don't wish you to go through it. I wish you weren't, but that is life, and life, that is not the last. I want to say, I kind of say, anything else can happen. That's not the worst you could experience. But whether it is small or big, whether it is intense or it is the worst you've experienced so far, if you're a Christian, because I come from a Christian worldview, Do you know God?
Yeah.
Do you know that he has taken other people through similar or even worse? Okay, so pay attention to him. One scholar once said, I think it's G.K. Chesterton, he said, we may not know what God is doing in the dark, but we know who he is. You understand? We know his heart.
His character.
Yes. So do you know him? That will be very helpful, better than any answer I can give you. Job clearly says, I know that my Redeemer lives and he will get me out of this. Habakkuk, when he's troubled by what Israel is going through and he wishes things were different, the Gentiles, the Assyrians are surrounding them. Now God has promised to judge them using the Babylonians. Habakkuk is angry. He goes to God and he asks difficult questions. But then when God assures him his journey, his path, and his judgment, Habakkuk in chapter 3 actually says that though there will be no harvest, though the fig tree gives no fruit, you understand? He says, yet I will trust in the Lord of my salvation. Obuzibu tulina is that we claim to believe in God. We claim to believe in God because the person who preached to us about him told us that our life is going to be
smooth.
Like Kasaija,
the economy.
Kasaija's economy, Matia Kasaija's economy.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
That's not life, yeah.
That's not what it is in reality. That's not anywhere in the Bible.
Yes.
That's not what the Bible records.
As long as you
it is real. Even Jesus says to his disciples in the story of the rich young ruler who rejected to sell his things and give to the poor and follow him. Peter turns to Jesus and said, Atife, we have left everything to come and follow you. And he said, no one who has left everything to follow me will not get it back in this world, 100-fold, and in the next life. But then he says you receive that and tribulation. And tribulation. Jesus adds it. The fact is that in this world, it's a broken world.
Yeah.
We hurt each other. You hurt me, I hurt you. Like we are agents of chaos. You and I. That's why the naturalists believe we are like atoms just running around and hitting each other. But the truth is we are agents. We are fallen. We are agents of destruction. But because the redeemed ones are meant to be different, then we need to see suffering and pain and all difficulty differently. Finally, on that one, do you know, out of my experience, when I was doing my master's, I decided to write my dissertation on the question of suffering and pain from an African perspective. And on my journey, I came to the conclusion that suffering is like a coin. And so whatever you're going through, I want you to think about a coin. It has two sides, right?
Yeah.
The heads and
tails.
Now, everyone has a preferred side of the coin. You can't say I love both the heads and the tails. That's what you should do, but everyone, when they're choosing, in the moment or a preferred side, when you ask them, okay, choose heads or tails, they say heads. And most Christians will say heads. I am the head, I'm not the tail, okay? Now, when it comes to coins, you can't choose. Real coins,
yeah.
A real coin, if it's a Chido 500 shilling coin, it is only good legal tender and value when it has both the heads and the tails. What does that mean? No matter how much you prefer the tails, for you to say that this coin is a 500 shilling coin that has value,
must have both.
It must have both. Why do I look at suffering as a coin? Because I think it has a painful side to it. But I believe there is a privileged side to it. And that is difficult to argue because then I might sound insensitive to some people's suffering experiences. But what I'm saying by privilege is that there's so much value that we can see in people's suffering experiences. That is not easy when you're going through it.
Course.
Even Jesus at the cross cries, my Father, why have you forsaken me? But we look at that cross and we know that there is suffering, there is death, but there's also redemption in the same moment. If he doesn't die, there's no salvation, there's no redemption. There's no reconciliation with God. He dies, we get it. It's not an either or, it is both and. And he triumphs through it to assure us that we too will triumph. He dies, he resurrects, and that's the importance. Actually, by the way, the resurrection has nothing to do with your redemption. It is a reassurance. The resurrection doesn't redeem you. It confirms that the one who died for you is sovereign over death. He accomplished. So the death, the blood he sheds, redeems you, cleanses us. And that's when you're done, but any blood can be shed. But the one who raises, the resurrection is to prove that God is the one who has done it. And so when he does that, it is reassuring. And so I would tell anyone who is going through difficulty, because not everybody goes through the death of loved one or wife or spouse and then remarries. That's one side of my life. But suffering generally is our experience. And of course, abamu our suffering, to be honest, one night, it was some suffering doesn't amount to suffering. Some suffering, bagay. Some suffering, some things you call suffering don't amount to suffering. I learned that when I lived in Karamoja. I learned that privileged. 7 years. Some of these things are just entitlements. We think we must have this. So people can cry about data. People can throw tantrums and quarrel and fight. Kids here in the urban, in the city, can be mad at their dad for not getting the latest phone.
That we are suffering.
Yes. Someone walks 15 minutes to school, 20 minutes to school, and they say, how? What do you mean by suffering?
You're rebuking me.
Kids will walk. I'm telling you, kids will walk. I've just returned from Kabong last week. Okay, Kabong, that corner of Karamoja. If you want to see Kabong, wait for your neighbor and they read the results. Top 5, bottom 5, sorry. Bottom 5, Kabong Eberam. Kids, even water, the place where I was residing, the water was 2 kilometers away, and that is not very far. You understand? They are not saying they are suffering. In fact, when you're talking to them, they are happy. They run to the water, they get it, they bring it. And that's not a good thing. I'm not wishing it for them. But you guys who are, water is off for one day, and you want to kill national water people. Power is off for just one day. You want to close the country. Uganda, the last one, switch off lights for today. I'm not dramatizing. I'm saying, guys, some of the things we call suffering aren't. There is real suffering. And you need to look around, look beyond yourself and see more. But that does not take away your personal experiences of suffering. Small as they may be, they're important. And God cares. And in dealing with sin at the cross, he deals with sin, which is basically the foundation, the gateway for suffering in the world, sinful desires, sinful intentions, and motives towards each other. So I could go on and on because that's a topic I'm very passionate about, as you notice. And I've also had the privilege of writing on it academically. But I am coming from experience. I'm telling you, I have been privileged to experience the things I've experienced. Would I wish for it another way? I don't know, because I think what God is working on, like today, the Raymond I began with that I told you in 2019, actually the worst part of my journey has been wishing for that Raymond, the one before the roller coaster. That has been the worst experience. The worst part of suffering is when you think and you're convinced that the best part of the journey is when you're restored. Is when you're restored. So you think that you have to be restored to what you were before. And you pray, you fast, you sow seed, you do whatever, you declare. What if God doesn't restore you? Is he still God?
Even if he does not.
That's what the Daniel's friends said. We believe he will save us, but even if he does not, you understand? So if God doesn't, what happens? His hand. Many people, when I meet them, they ask about my hand. It can't be like this one. But do you know how many things I've done in the past 4 years? Without this hand playing its part? Okay? And what if God doesn't heal it the way I would love to, or restore it? Do you know how many things he has healed? You know how many things he has done? Like, are you paying attention to that side? But because as human beings, we normally focus on what has not been done right, what we wish was done better, and we make things difficult and worse. We do well appreciating. And that way we learn lessons. Before we know, our experience is a blessing, both to us and everybody around us. Just as our experience can affect those around us. So be of good courage. That's what the Bible tells you. And that's what I'm telling you. And people who are going through difficult times, please, I think for me, the best thing I said earlier, people need a listening ear.
Yeah.
And even if you don't say much,
be there.
Read Job's story, you'll find out that for 7 days when his friends arrived, those 3, they listened, they kept quiet. Then they made the worst mistake of their lives. They began to speak. And their theology on suffering was wrong. In the end of Job, God tells Job to go tell his friends to give sacrifice, and Job would sacrifice it for them in order for God to forgive them. Should we wish they kept quiet? No. It's okay they spoke so that we could also see ourselves in them.
Yeah.
We do that. People will tell you, maybe you have generational curses. You need deliverance.
Yeah.
Maybe the spirit of death, of premature death,
is around you.
Is hovering around you. You understand? People told me things. People said things. And then I remember one person telling me to go to a particular managa.
Managa. He will set you free.
Yes, you understand that sort of thing. And then of course people will think you sinned.
Yeah.
God is punishing you for something. Someone told me things like that. A lot of stuff. And then of course there are those bold ones who will tell you, man, there is a witch doctor who can help you.
Are you serious? Shokanga, they know your managa.
Some will know, but they will tell you, no. One Africa. Oh, do you know how many men are who are syncretic, like 1 foot here, 1 foot there? Yeah, you understand? Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff. So, I could go on.
You can go on. Oh my God, guys. I'm so grateful, Raymond. Thank you so much for coming. You have shared so vulnerably, and I have learned some things. I'm going to be more grateful, and we need to be more grateful for life, but for the things that God is teaching us in our seasons, and but also more grace to knowing what I know now, more grace to people in blending families and those who are us the children, sometimes we're also problematic because we also don't understand. Everyone is going through this for the first time, so.
Your statement in Kuru, and people should be willing to learn.
Yes.
Be willing to learn and unlearn. So learn new things you didn't know, and the fact that God puts into you that thing, He wants you to learn certain things and unlearn certain things.
You're on a journey.
Yes.
So
allow to learn.
Yeah. More grace. Mistakes will be made because, of course, they will be made. And we hope that God just restores all of us in that whole situation. So thank you so much. I will share, I think, more candidly. Also, maybe I'll also bring my parents and they talk about the blending of the families, and we first, have a discussion there. But I'm super grateful for your resilience and just remaining in God. It's key. Remaining in Him. Sometimes I'm like,
it's grace.
It's grace.
And they see now capacities in nature. I
know.
I never told people this, but on record, I think I've opened up about it recently about mental health. But twice, I thought, you know what, Mukama, I'm signing out.
Yeah.
I'm signing out. I can't take this anymore. And he was like, I
still have good plans for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't think I can go that direction again.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity to love again, to be loved, to share, and to grow. I think one of the other things is to grow. I'm not the same guy I was. There's so much that has changed and improved. Yes, that's
maturity.
Absolutely.
On all levels, spiritual, intellectual, emotional.
Absolutely. I can't say that. No, there's so much growth. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, guys, let us know in the comment section what has been your key takeaway. If you're going through it, have there been some bits and pieces there that are just going to encourage you and just help you to live another day? Let us know in the comment section. My name is Lisa Kusima. As always, I'm here to inspire.